I don't know if that he's addicted to cannabis or maybe nicotine, because a lot of people roll it in cigar papers and blunts, as you hear. And that is, without a filter especially, an enormous infusion of tobacco and nicotine into the body. And a lot of people who think they're addicted to cannabis are in fact addicted to nicotine. He's addicted to something, let's put it that way, or he wouldn't get caught risking millions of dollars. That much is true for sure. But to me, the issue here is the NFL choosing to test for a recreational drug that is at worst as harmful for you as alcohol, and they are in business with alcohol companies. They sell it to you on TV. But in fact, if one is worse, it's alcohol. So it doesn't even meet that standard. And yet they choose to test for it, and that is really the issue to me.
The operative words in all of this is to you, as in, to me, as in to you. That's what you feel. That's not what I feel. To me, the issue is your absence of discipline to do what the rules state you must do in a sport you chose to participate in. This is, you're not being forced to play. There are rules that we don't like. I totally agree that there's an abundance of things that the NFL allows you to put into your body that are incredibly harmful and probably more harmful to you than marijuana. Nobody's disputing that. I totally agree that there are other things they should prohibit. There are other things that they should be dogged about. There are other things that they should prioritize. We totally agree with this. But the National Football League is the National Football League. They have their own rules. It's collectively bargained with a players association what those rules and what those stipulations are. And if you want to play in that league, you have to capitulate. And the fact that this man will go on social media and make a video essentially revealing himself to be an addict, all right, devoid of the discipline necessary to be a professional is incredibly alarming to me, because clearly either you can't help yourself or you ignorant enough not to care. He's 25 years old, and puts yourself on Front Street advertising how you're going to compromise a quality of life that you worked a lifetime to build up to because you can't stop puffing.
Stephen A.,
that is a problem. That is a problem, and that is what we have to speak about here.
Sure.
And for me, Marcus, that's where I'm coming from. I'm not trying to sit up there and tell you that, the NFL is right to do what they're doing. I'm saying in every walk of life, Max, to get personal here, you met my sister Carmen. You know how much I love my sister Carmen to death. Phenomenal cooking, whatever. She has one vice. She smokes cigarettes. I can't stand it. Neither can any of us. But guess what? She's a teacher. She don't ever smoke in school because they don't allow it. That's why. So she waits until she leaves
Stephen
school.
A., I get following the rules, but the question then becomes, and guys, should it be a rule? I'm not saying he doesn't need to follow it once it exists and he has a problem. We all agree on that. My point is, once that's addressed, I'm now saying it shouldn't be a rule.
Let me put that directly to you, Stephen A. Everybody at this table agrees that David Irving needs to follow the rules, and I think Marcus is right. He's martyring himself for making bad choices or being addicted and trying to bring up a larger issue. Okay. But I asked you earlier, Stephen A., should the NFL change the rule? And you said no. In fact, you thought they should test for more. And I think I understood what you're saying, because you said with medicinal exceptions, perhaps, when I was listening.
Just to explain, because Marcus wasn't here, I want to make sure he understands my position.
Right.
My position is this. For medicinal purposes, no problem. The offseason, no problem. I do not want a player, if it's not for medicinal purposes, I don't want a player smoking weed during the season. I don't want you coming. I don't want you having the license to come to a game high. I don't want that.
Wait, I need to say one thing.
You said you saw players who showed up to games high, Stephen. Now, you said that. My question to you is, what does it matter? Who do they hurt besides themselves? I'm curious. Who do they hurt besides themselves?
The fan, from the perspective of, are you really able to perform at a peak level? I mean, if you are inebriated, if you are not lucid and cogent and what have you, and fully invested physically because you're compromised by a drug. And I understand it affects everybody differently, because I've seen athletes who have performed at an elite level
hold on. I need to get this in, Stephen A.
But there are others who have not.
I need to get this in.
I worry about that.
But you can also show up drunk to a game. I mean, unless
but
you're,
I'm opposed to
unless
that
you're
too,
a recording
Max.
artist,
I'm
you
opposed to
probably,
that too.
you know, in some cases, you probably are not going to benefit, and it should probably be against the rules or a bad idea to show up to work inebriated off of anything. Why is it okay to not test for alcohol where the same thing can happen?
I didn't say it wasn't okay. Why are
so
you
they shouldn't be able to drink alcohol during the season?
You keep misrepresenting my position. I told you in the earlier segment, I completely agree with you about all of that. I'm saying none of it. None of it.
And say this is the issue that I have with it, right? You're an idiot and a dummy if you're doing something that's going to affect how you're making your money.
Right.
Period. And
right.
I totally understand that.
That's
From
right.
the other side of that is, if the NFL does say, look, we are not going to come out and promote that we'll allow guys to smoke weed, but we'll stop testing for it, then that is the individual's decision if it's hurting your peak performance. As an athlete, right, if I'm coming into a game and I know on Sunday we play at noon and I come to a game high and it's going to affect the way I play, eventually it's going to affect my money.
Yeah.
And that is what these guys are saying. It's like
Marcus.
But say they smoking anyway.
I got it. But last point. Keep in mind, the National Football League, like any professional sport, is advertising this is the elite. This is the creme de la creme that you're paying to watch. So if somebody, even though it's an individual choice, is doing something that's not prohibited, that eventually could compromise them being at peak performance, that is a problem.
From a large group of people, several thousand people, you will find examples of addicts and people who show up to work in conditions they shouldn't, etc. That, to me, is not a strong argument to prohibit recreational use of a legal drug. I don't understand that.
We got to leave it here. I think Marcus is right. If you're showing up drunk or high, your play is going to bust you out of the league.